Look at that. That is a gorgeous dish. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this wonderful dish. It is absolutely delicious, and once you've tried it, well, you're going to be hooked. Today, I'm going to be cooking up Hearty Black Bean Chili. Now, if you've watched my videos before, if you've seen my channel, then you probably already know that I know my business when it comes to chili. And this dish is no different. We have decades of chili making experience right here, all right? And I have some of the best tasting chili recipes on YouTube. Folks, I'm going to bring you another one right here today. Flavor, fantastic. The acid balance, perfect, spot on. The flavors of these spices, absolutely fantastic. The chili is hearty, it has a good bite to it. It's good mouthfeel kind of chili. And when you try it, you're going to see exactly what I mean, because we're going to process this just a little different than I've done some of my other chilies. Well, if you're wondering, when you watch the ingredients, if you say, hold it, that's not in chili con carne. Well, folks, I'm not making chili con carne today. I'm making Hearty Black Bean Chili. And this is a little different. It's sort of a crossover between my home style chili and my Texas red chili, with a nice kick of some black beans in there. And I add a couple of other items to make it a little more full and robust and hearty. So this dish comes to you from Texas Cooking Today, which is a project of S.A.Trotter Arts, LLC. Yes, I'm not, no, nobody's funding me. That's me, okay? So, just so you'll know, that's my business. And of course, you can see my website, which is S.A.Trotter.com. Now, folks, let's get in the kitchen. We're going to take a look at these ingredients, and then we'll get busy processing everything. And I'm going to put together for you a fantastic chili. And when you've tasted it, you're going to have a new favorite for your recipe batch. Let's get in there. Come on. All right, I've got black beans here. Now, this is actually before I have done the shoot for the chili, and that is because I need to get these things soaked. I would have done this last night, but then I thought, you know, this would be a neat time to teach a lesson on speed soaking beans. And so that's what I'm going to do. I need to measure out 8 ounces. That's ½ pound. There we go. 7. Oops, a little past. There we go. 8 ounces right there. Okay, I believe my water has come to a boil. I'm going to turn it off. Pour these beans on in. Now I'm just going to give them a little stir. They probably don't need this, but I do it anyway. What the heck. Now, folks, we put these beans down in boiling water earlier, and I've given them about, well, let me see what my time is, about 4 hours now. So they have swollen some, they have soaked, they have gotten tender, and now at this point these are ready to start cooking. So I'm going to change this water out and put in some fresh, and then I'm going to cook it right here. Now understand something, I'm going to cook them without seasoning them. I don't need to season these beans. These are an ingredient to another much more heavily seasoned dish. So all I have to do here is simply change the water and get them partially cooked. I'm going to not have to cook them all the way. I can if I want, but if I'm going to do it this way, I would just as soon cook it a little over halfway, add them to my chili, and finish the cook-off with all of the chili ingredients. It all seems to marry just a little bit better that way. There we go. So we have our flame underneath our beans now. I'll just get those up to a boil. Now, in this process, don't worry about this. If you don't need salt, you don't need seasoning, you just need some cooking time, and that's all. Now, folks, I have my ingredients here, less one. The one ingredient I don't have sitting out is, of course, the beef. The beef, I'm going to be cutting that up in a moment. We're going to be using 1 pound anywhere from 2 to 3 pounds of fine diced sirloin. Now, finding fine diced sirloin, you really can't. So you just have to take a sirloin steak and get busy with the knife. We'll do that in a moment. On our other ingredients, all kinds of goodies here. This is a Hearty Black Bean Chili. So folks, it starts right here, our black beans. That's a half a pound of black beans that we're using with this. We also are using some poblanos, onions, jalapeno chilies. I have tomato paste, diced tomatoes in their own juice, bourbon, cooking oil. I'll be using peanut oil today. Garlic, bay leaf, and then our spices back here, we have cayenne, paprika, cumin, and salt. And once we get all that combined, we get a heavenly chili. Okay, I have my sirloin here. This sirloin is about a little over 3 pounds that I've got sitting out. And what I'm planning on doing here is I'm just going to trim it up a little bit. And you don't have to get every bit of that fat off, but I like to just reduce some of the fat that's on mine because I don't really need all of that in my diet. Now, your sirloin will often come right apart on different muscles that make up the whole set, okay? Okay, for dicing this out, what I want to do is to make some 1/4 inch wide strips, just like so. And then I take those strips and we're going to simply cut them down. Now, I'm going to show you this just using some small pieces so you kind of get what I'm doing here. But that's all we're doing. We're just going to reduce it until we can get a nice fine dice on it. So as you see here, we have a nice small bits of beef, and that's just what we're looking for right there. So it's a little bit heartier than you're going to get if you use grind, okay? And this changes the texture of the whole thing. It really kind of improves the mouthfeel of the entire dish. And so I really recommend you give this a shot, okay? And as you can see, once you really get onto this, it just doesn't take that long to fine mince your meat. Okay, yeah, it's a little bit more time consuming than using ground, but we're only talking, you know what, 10 or 15 minutes of cutting and you're finished with it. Okay, so go ahead and give this a try, and I think you may end up enjoying what you get. Now folks, you hear that popping? What I'm doing is I'm scorching these chilies, and if you notice, it blisters the skin when you put it directly on heat. You don't have to be afraid of doing this. They can handle a lot of fire. You can do this also by putting it in a broiler. Give it a few minutes on each side in a broiler and then put them in a plastic bag to sweat. It'll sweat that skin right off of it. All right, so a couple of different ways you can do it. We're just trying to remove the bulk of the skin, and then we can get on with dicing them out. Now I wanted to show you real quick what to do to remove that skin. First thing you can do is just basically peel it. If you wish to do it just like this, you're going to preserve all of the oils and all of the flavor of that chili, okay? So go ahead and do this if you'd like. Now, a lot of chefs are very picky and they will do only this. They'll never wash it. If you wash it, you do remove some of the essential oils that are under that skin, okay? But it's your choice. Now, in the event you want to wash it, let me show you what to do. And also, here's how to crown it. What you do is just push your finger into the side and pull straight down. Pull back on the meat of the chili away from the crown. You'll see the seeds underneath. There we go. Now, sometimes it pulls apart a little bit like this did. Snap up. Okay? See how it came apart a bit? Don't worry about it. We're dicing it out. Now folks, something I want to mention about chilies. The oil that's inside of these things that makes them spicy and hot, that makes them burn your mouth, that oil can burn your skin, okay? It's smart to wear gloves for a couple of reasons. Even though you might want to wash your hands well when you're finished handling jalapeno or other hot chilies, that oil still remains on the skin even if you scrub well with detergent. And I've noticed that hours later you could scratch under your eye and suddenly your face is burning. Okay, so do yourself a favor and just put on some gloves. It makes the cleanup afterwards real quick and easy. You take the gloves off, there's no more problem. Now when it comes to working with jalapenos, there's a way to remove the heat, okay? And the way to remove the heat on a jalapeno is to simply remove the part containing the heat. Now you may have heard it said before that the heat is in the white material on the inside, or in the membrane that holds the seed to that material, when that is actually the hottest part, that little membrane. But it runs throughout that entire inner core, that white vein. This is also the reason pickled jalapeno seems hotter than fresh, and that's because when you pickle it, it washes some of the oil out of the center and off into the green part around the outside, making that green part hotter. If you're using a fresh jalapeno, to remove the heat, simply use a spoon and pull out the center of that jalapeno, just like that. There, now I have effectively removed 90% of the heat of that jalapeno, thereby rendering it to be a fairly mild chili at this point. This is the neat thing about jalapenos. If you handle them the right way, they're really quite palatable, okay? But unfortunately, just a lot of folks don't know how to handle them. So here you have it. Easy, quick, easy, fast, easy. It doesn't get much easier than that, okay? So give that a try. I'm sure that you'll find it as easy as I do. When you're slicing up a chili that is fresh like this, the outer skin on a chili can be kind of slick and hard for a knife to go through. If you have a sharp knife like mine, generally it's not a problem. However, if you have problems, turn it inside out. You will find that chili slices much, much easier. Now for this, I'm going to go for a small dice. I'm looking at around no bigger than 1/4 inch square pieces. There you go. If you would, just do yours the same way. We'll get right on with the rest of it. Go ahead and cut up those poblanos pretty much the same way you did the other chilies. These can be a little bit bigger squares though. I like to do about 3/8 to 1/2 inch square pieces. Now when I'm processing my onions, I first remove the stem end, then I make a cut up the side to remove any outer papery layers, okay, and the thin layers. And once I've removed any thin layers, I can then get into cutting it out. I wanted to give you a nice low perspective when I cut this onion, because there is a couple of tricks I want to show you about cutting an onion. First of all, you have to understand the onion grows in layers. Of course, I'm sure you already know this. And if I make cuts on my onion this way, and then I make cuts on my onion this way, well, all of the pieces from up here and from down here are going to be perfectly square. But the pieces on the side are going to be real long. Even though they'll be the same width as these up here, they'll be real long. So what I need to do is to cut those down. Let me show you how we do that. When cutting an onion, cut on 3 axes, okay? 3 directions. So I'm going to start with the root and cut straight down to that stem end that I had already cut off, okay? Now, the pieces on the side, again, if I just cut here and then cut here, those pieces come out long. They'll be almost 1 inch long over here. So to reduce that, and always do this cutting away from you, never toward you like this, okay? So put your fingers together on the very top of that onion and cutting away, make a slice. Now if your knife binds up and it doesn't want to move, here's the trick. You take a knife and just twist it a little. You can finish pushing it on through, twist a little more if you need. Don't go all the way through the root though, leave some of that intact. Now I want to do that again, cutting a little higher. Remember to keep those fingers together. So now, instead of having long pieces appearing from the sides, I will now have shorter pieces appearing from the side, nice little dice. The idea here is to get a more even cut. A more even cut means a more even cook and better overall quality. Now I'm going to take my knife and dash it straight down into my onion. Sometimes you'll see a little of that happening. And this gives me the width cut for those top pieces, okay? Now, when I cut this, I want to get perfect dice. We'll take a look at these as soon as I get it done. So the thing here, like I said, we don't have those long pieces now. It's all diced down into nice little squares, and that's what we're looking for. And you end up with very little waste on that root end, okay? So you end up with better quality overall. Now folks, it is important to remember to cut everything up first. Do all of that cutting and dicing before you start cooking. And that's because you don't want to be browning the meat while you're trying to cut up the onion that should already be in there with it, okay? So make sure you get everything done like this first. That makes your cooking easier. Now, meat, right down in there. And I want to put high heat underneath this pot because I've got a lot of material I'm going to be cooking here. Now I'm going to want some fat in here. I'm going to use cooking oil as a fat content since I cut out most of the fat of the meat. Okay, there we go. Stir that a bit just to get that oil in between those pieces of meat. It'll help break it apart and it'll cook more evenly. And this is nice this way. It makes such a hearty chili when you cook it this way. So, give that a few minutes. When it comes up to a little bit of a sizzle, I'm going to put the onion in there and we begin the next step of the process. Okay, it has started cooking. I'm getting a little graying on the bottom of the meat. That's when the onion goes in. Alrighty. Now the next thing, I'm going to cover this. We're going to give it 4 to 5 minutes. It has now been a little over 4 minutes since we last put that in. Now look at the difference in the meat color. See how most of it has started to gray. There's a little pink left. Spot on perfect. That's when the chilies go in. And we want both kinds of chilies, both the jalapeno and poblano together. There we are. Now, the next step in this whole thing is a little bit of cooking time. These items right here need to cook together for a little while. Simply put, it's going to take them until the onions turn translucent. They need to not be nearly as white as they are now. So give it plenty of time, stir it about every 4 to 5 minutes until you achieve your results. It could take, 12 minutes, it could take 25. It just depends on your onion and your meat and chilies and all that, okay? Also your altitude. There's a lot of variables. Let it cook until it's cooked right, okay? This has been cooking now for close to somewhere between 12 and 15 minutes. As you can see, the onion is still fairly white, but it's getting there. It's slowly turning. Be patient with it, folks. There's no rush on this. Just let this keep sweating like it's doing. And when it's when those onions are about half that much white, then we're done. We're ready to move on. Okay, my simmering has come to the point now where my onions are translucent. I've just now put my tomato paste down in here. I'm getting the diced tomatoes in now. There we go. Let's just get that stirred in. There we go. That's looking good. Next, I'm going to thin that with my bourbon. And if I need any extra liquid after this, I'll be adding water. Now folks, let's have a little discussion about that alcohol. When it comes to putting bourbon or something like that into a dish like this, every bit of the alcohol cooks off. What I put in there is 80 proof, which means it's 40% by volume alcohol. The steam that's now coming off of this, I can smell it. That's the alcohol itself steaming off, and that's the first thing to come out of it. The same way a still works. The alcohol boils at 173 degrees, which is before the water would boil at 112. So the alcohol steams out first, and then we are left with that woody flavored water that the bourbon has in it. And that's that wonderful flavor that we're going for. It adds that nice charred oaky flavor to our chili, and that is the benefit of it. After this, now we just got to add our spices in here, and we're going to be making us some really good chili. I'm going to add some water also. Now for the next ingredient is our black beans. These have been cooking for a couple of hours now. Right into that dish. There we go. Let it stirred down. Now you're starting to see why we call this a hearty chili. It really is hearty, and there's a lot to it. Time to go ahead and get that garlic all minced up. And the first thing I usually do is just crush it, and that way it doesn't bob around on you as you're trying to mince it. All right, so to mince that, just give it a good quick going over here. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm doing it this way, this is a quick way to mince. It really works well. But something you got to remember, when you're doing this, get that thumb tucked under. Keep those fingers on top, okay? And gently rock the knife back and forth. That's all I'm doing. Just like that. Now, something that'll help is if you angle that knife just a little bit. If you turn that blade instead of right up and down like this, if you'll angle it just like that, it gets actually a better cut. You get a better mincing action. There's something I noticed some years back. When I cut at an angle, it just seemed to work a little better. So as you can see, it's not hard to mince off garlic in exactly that way. That's ready for our chili. Yeah. Alrighty. Get that garlic in there. I'm going to go ahead and get my bay leaf in here. Now the salt, I'm not going to put in yet, folks. And that's because black beans, like other beans, don't respond well to salt, okay? You need to salt it at the end of the cooking, all right? Otherwise your black beans will end up being tough. Now I want to go ahead and add in the rest of my spices. First will be this one, which is my cumin. Cumino. About a tablespoon, slightly more won't hurt. There we go, about a tablespoon of cayenne. Now cayenne, that's that spicy one. It really got a lot of heat to it. What they call red pepper. Which is funny because I think paprika is a little more red than cayenne, frankly. That's 1, 2, and 3. 3 tablespoons. Look at that. Now this is awful thick, so I'm going to go ahead and add some more water to it. Get it thinned down a little bit. And this is going to be about an hour in the simmer time. Boy howdy, that sure smells good, let me tell you. That is beautiful right there, folks. Now it's just a matter of patience, a little bit of time to let it simmer, and we're going to have the batch of the world's best chili right there. This has been an hour in the simmer now, and it is looking beautiful, okay? The appearance is just what it's supposed to be. I'm going to start putting some salt in here. We'll start with about a teaspoon and a half. Now, another thing, I'm going to be pulling out my bay leaves now. There we go. The other one's in there somewhere. It'll pop up in a moment. There it is. You just stir it for a little bit. They show up. All right. Now, we need to give that salt a few minutes to cook in. After 10 minutes, I'm going to taste it, and then if I need more salt, I'll add it. A little more simmer time. Now folks, the total quantity of everything that we use today, that starts with 2 to 3 pounds of sirloin. And as you've seen, we take that and we fine dice it. To the sirloin, we're going to be adding 1/2 pound of black beans. Now that's 1/2 pound dried, okay, not like canned or anything. So we start with the dried beans, we cook them up, and then we get the right amount. 1 pound of poblano chilies, 1 pound of onion, and that can be any kind of onion you want to use. 1/2 pound of jalapeno, 4 cloves of garlic, 2 bay leaves, that's a bay laurel. Here I have 15 ounces of diced tomatoes in their own juice, 12 ounces of tomato paste, 1 1/2 cups of bourbon, 1/4 to 1/2 cup of cooking oil. We've used 1 tablespoon of cayenne, 3 tablespoons of paprika, 1 tablespoon of cumin, and 2 to 3 teaspoons of salt. You want to salt it to taste, okay? So there you have it, folks. It's a pretty simple recipe and full of delicious. Folks, when you're getting ready to dish up your chili, I recommend having a few toppings. You can do all kinds of different things. Some of my favorites, and I've laid them out here, are sour cream, chopped green onions, cilantro leaves, and cheese, of course. Cheese just goes great with any chili. Folks, try any of these, and there's plenty of other good things that you can do on top of it. Please feel free to experiment and enjoy that chili. It has been a day of cooking, and I'm looking forward to a big bowl of this beautiful chili. Isn't that gorgeous? Now we need to decorate this just a little bit. So what I want to do, I'm going to start with a little cilantro back here. Not a whole lot, just a little greenery in the background. Okay. In front of our greenery, we need a little bit of a snowscape coming right across here. All right. Come down with a bit of our onion. Isn't that beautiful? And give it some cheese to top it all off. Folks, I don't think chili gets any better than that. What a delight. Ladies and gentlemen, truly a fantastic chili. You gotta try it to believe it. Man, just so good. It has all the right balance. As I said, the right acid balance, the right flavors in those spices. Everything comes out spot on perfect on this one. It's not an overwhelming chili. It doesn't overwhelm the senses. It's not too spicy. It's absolutely perfect. Folks, thank you. Thank you very much for watching. If you would, look in the description box down there. There's some links. You're going to find a link to my website, and that is S.A.Trotter.com. Take a look there. Pretty soon I'll be posting all of the merchandise for Texas Cooking Today on that site. I've already got a tab for it, and I'm building on that. So if you would, take a look there. Take a look at my channel. There's a lot more videos. I've got a lot of chili videos, a lot of great tamale videos, and other wonderful stuff on there that's definitely worth your time. Thank you for watching, and folks, if you would, please just have a good day. Bye-bye. Ooh, come with me. Yeah.